I'm waiting for Brad to see. He hasn't given me the thumbs up. Okay. Good morning. Oh, it was bright and cheerful. Thanks, Sandra, for the lovely music. I noticed you playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and maybe it was Hope for a Rainbow today. So good morning and welcome to Westside Unitarian Universalist Church. Whether you're here in person or viewing on YouTube this morning or some later time, we're glad you're here. My name is Linda Phippen. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm a member of the worship committee. Our regular minister, the Reverend Carol Baudot, who is seated up here, is not going to be giving a sermon today because we are pleased to be having a special guest speaker, Ty Murray from the bottom. Reverend Carol will be back up here talking next Sunday.
Nope.
No?
Nope. Suzanne's doing the service next week.
Well, I stand corrected. Suzanne. So people follow many different paths to Unitarian Universalism, and specifically to Westside. So whatever your beliefs or your non-beliefs, however you identify yourself, if you are willing to come with an open mind and an open heart to join us in a spirit of curiosity and acceptance, as we seek understanding and meaning in our lives and a way to be in the world, you're welcome here. After the service, if you are attending in person, we hope you will stay for coffee, light snacks, and conversation. So there are announcements in your order of service and on your screen if you're watching on YouTube. You can also find announcements on our website in our newsletter, weekly newsletter, which you can subscribe to using the QR code in your order of service or on our website. I do have a couple of other announcements. There will be Building Your Own Theology today starting at 12:30. The other thing is on March 21st, we are going to be hosting the Berea Folk Arts Ensemble, and we would like to have volunteers to provide usher services and maybe bring a light snack, that sort of thing. There's a sign-up sheet in the back of the room if you would like to help us out with that. Okay, in order to get us to help us settle in and focus as we begin the service, Reverend Carol is going to invite our singing bowl to sound.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's lovely to see you all here today. If I haven't met you yet, I am Reverend Carol Baudot. I am privileged to serve here as minister. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And today, as I invite the bowl to sound, oh wait, I have another announcement. Just a reminder, that day, March 21st, that the Berea Folk Arts Ensemble is playing, we are also changing our Earth Church that week. So we typically have Earth Church on the fourth Sunday in the afternoon. This month, instead of having it on the fourth Sunday in the same day as the Folk Arts Ensemble, during the spring fair. There's a spring fair during the day, there's an Earth Church event, and then there's the concert. So if you feel like spending a whole day doing fun stuff here, that's a good day for it. And today, as the bowl sings to us, I want to invite you to cultivate gratitude. I'm so grateful that Ty Murray is able to be here with us today from the bottom, and I'm so grateful for the work that the bottom is doing in the community. I'm so grateful for each and every person who brings your own special, unique set of gifts and talents and challenges into this room. For each person that joins us virtually, whether you've ever been in the building or not. As the bowl sounds, I encourage us to breathe into a sense of gratitude for all that is well. It's really easy to focus on what's not going well. But let us just take a moment to breathe into what it is that we appreciate.
For our chalice lighting this morning, I've chosen words from Langston Hughes, and they are actually in our gray hymnal as both a hymn and as a reading, and they seem so right for this damp spring morning. The poem is called The Time of Silver Rain. In time of silver rain, the earth puts forth new life again. Grow and flowers lift their heads, and all over the plain the wonder spreads of life, of life, of life. In time of silver rain, the butterflies lift silken wings to catch a rainbow cry, and trees put forth new leaves to sing in joy beneath the sky, when spring and life are new. We also light 2 candles traditionally, one to acknowledge the sorrows of the world, whether they be humans waging wars in the Middle East and elsewhere, or severe weather wreaking havoc in the Midwest, and another candle to remind us that there are many acts of courage and kindness, seen and unseen, taking place amongst the wreckage.
We're going to light one more special candle today. I'm going to invite Linda to light our central candle today. Today we are lighting a candle in honor of a long-time beloved West Side UU member who passed this last week, Lori Valaga, who passed a few days ago. And many of you will remember her if you've been here for a while, but some of you will not. Lori hasn't been around very much in the last many months because of her illness. I spoke with Bob, her husband, last night, and Bob wanted me to share with you all how peaceful and gracious and graceful Lori's passing was, which sort of reminds me of Lori. He wanted you all to know that he was with her when she took her last breath, as was her brother and their beloved dog, and that she left this world in the way she was here, with a sense of caring about other people, gracefulness, calm centeredness. Bob and I will be talking about a celebration of Lori's life, and we'll keep you informed of that. And he asked that if you want to reach out to him right now, calls are not, he's got a lot to deal with, so calling is not a good idea right now. But if you'd like to send him a text or a card, he would very much appreciate that. He's grateful for the support of the West Side community, and we will be in touch about celebrating Lori's life. But for now, we just want to honor the legacy of her long time of work here. She has helped run our auction for us. She's done all kinds of wonderful things behind the scenes for a long time. So she will be missed, but she will mostly be remembered with deep gratitude.
Okay. So those of you who've been at West Side for a while will remember that we used to pass a collection plate at every service and donate a portion of the money collected to an organization, often a local nonprofit, that we called our Share the Plate program, and our Share the Plate partner. This always struck many people as too transactional and tinged with overtones of paternalism. A few years ago, the board, in conjunction with Reverend Carroll, decided that Westside should pursue more lasting relationships and meaningful relationships with the organizations we wanted to support. What that means is that, of course, we do continue to provide financial support. More about that later. But what we would like to do is to work with the organizations to find out what their needs are, what they can tell us their needs are, and how we could help them. We now call these organizations our Justice and Generosity Partners. So one of the first organizations that we approached with this concept of support was The Bottom, an organization, if you're not familiar with it, it's in East Knoxville and serves and supports the Black community through its bookshop, its arts, and other cultural programs. Today, we are pleased to welcome Ty Murray, The Bottom's Director of Art and Communication, who will be telling us more about The Bottom and the many ways in which it nurtures Knoxville's Black community and its culture. Come on up, Ty.
Good morning. Thank you all for inviting me to spend this Sunday afternoon with you all. This will actually be my third day in a row of speaking, so I feel very warmed up. Friday, I had the privilege of traveling to Boone, North Carolina to speak at the Turchin Center of the Arts. I had the privilege of being the juror for the 23rd Annual Appalachian Mountain Photography Competition, so it was a lovely time there, presenting about my work with The Bottom and also my personal work as an artist. Yesterday, I also had the privilege and honor of presenting a capstone presentation virtually with the Mind Stone Collaboratory. It is a research project out of the Pratt Institute, so I've spent a year in a Zoom room with women who are sharing wisdom, and their research emphasis is what will happen to artists and arts professionals if you equip them with mindfulness techniques. How will their practice improve, or how will their communities improve as a result? So I created a sound offering and was very happy to present that. And then today, again, I'm very happy to be here sharing more about the work that I love to do. So without further ado, we'll get into what The Bottom is and kind of what the work that we do entails.
My name is Anastasia. My name is Anastasia Williams. I'm the bookshop director here at The Bottom. The Bottom is a community organization that has a bookstore and a community art space. The two arms of our organization are literature and art for the Black community, and everything that we do is kind of driving to those two specific departments. Our mission is to build community, celebrate Black culture, and enhance the creativity of the Black people in our community. We revisit that mission every single day in everything that we do. We are an organization focused on literature and art, and that's how we impact the Black community here in East Knoxville.
Well, hey y'all, welcome. If you're new to this space, The Bottom is a social justice and equity project. So we were founded in 2020. We are here now to reclaim and rebuild Black community.
Another part of our mission too is honoring the Bottom neighborhood that used to sit where we are today, here in East Knoxville, where those people were forcibly removed from their homes due to urban renewal. This organization was created by Dr. Nkechi Elamine because of her research of Black race and place and covering a lot of the oral histories of this neighborhood.
The Bottom was birthed from one of our programs called So It's Zealot. Dr. Elamine is a seamstress by trade, so she felt that was also important to give back to the community some form of entrepreneurship to the youth. So she started that with a couple sewing machines, and from there decided to get some funding and to turn what she was doing into a 501c3 and name it The Bottom.
We're in our bookstore. This is our most public-facing project. So we believe in representation, positive representation.
It is such a beautiful and healing space to come into as a reader. There's very few spaces in bookstores and places that sell books that look like this, that feature the stories that I see here in this bookshop today. And it's what I wanted when I was a kid, to be honest. When people walk into the bookshop, their world is expanded, right? They understand like, oh, Black literature is so much more than what I thought it was. It's so much more than these like handful of books that I may or may not have been introduced to in high school. For us, we want The Bottom to be a place where you can come, you can rest in your identity, you can expand your talents, you can meet other folks in community, you can take up some social justice work as well. All of those things can be done here at The Bottom.
My name is Ty. I'm the Director of Art and Communication here at the bottom. I'm also the host, creator of this series. Before the pandemic, I worked in music booking. I definitely saw how a lot of Black artists were not as highly valued, as highly compensated, and as highly regarded as other artists. So I definitely wanted to make sure that while working in this space, I also worked to bring more exposure and a platform for our local talent here.
My waist deep in the water, feel like I'm drowning. The same boy that's high as the sky, but feel like he clouded. I traveled down the valley to realize I wasn't grounded. I've been stepping on these cracks without finding my sacred balance.
We're called the Tiny Bookstore Concert Series for a reason. Our space is small, but we bring our big energy to here, and I'm glad that all of you are here helping us fill up the space tonight.
For the future leaders and creators in Knoxville, number one, know that you have a place in a community here at the bottom to meet other folks just like you, to create in whatever medium that you want. There is a space and place and intention here at the bottom for you to flourish. And I think also, you know, for Black folks, especially our young folks, Knoxville needs us. Knoxville needs the Black community, and they need our work and our creativity and everything that we bring.
I know life is different when you see these trees grow. Shooting with the ball and trade your soul for free throws. And this game is something dangerous, ain't no loops and cheat codes. In a city full of angels, in a city full of demons, you won't never get between them. Hope you don't jump off the deep end, yeah. So I just pray to the sky.
There have been a few dreams that we've had that have been realized, and now we have to make new dreams. We have to expand, you know, what we think we're capable of. That's super exciting. And I really can't wait to see where the bottom goes in the next 2 years, 5 years. Things have changed and grown so dramatically since we started, and I just have a really great vision for the future, and I think there's bigger and better things for us.
See, when you look at it from a bird's eye view, you get to see life in a different perspective. You know what I mean? A lot of growth, development, a lot of trials and tribulations that we go through. But you know we gotta prevail through anything. If you want it, go get it. Feel me? Regardless. That's to everybody out there. Damn.
Let's go, Cody. Next one.
So that kind of gave you our full story. You kind of saw all three of our directors. So when the bottom first started, we did have an executive director. Because our space and our work has so many facets, that was not a sustainable way for us to operate. So we now operate under a three-pronged directorship. So there are three women who are leading the organization. I'm the director of art, so I lead our arts programming, our exhibitions. We have a ceramic studio. I'm leading the charge for that, as well as we do a monthly meetup for arts. You met Anastasia there. She is the bookstore director. So she is over our bookstore programming. She is ordering books. She's inviting authors to speak in our space. And she also runs a program called Lit Kids, and that is where children, youth under aged 18 can come and sign up for a free book a month. So that program is very beautiful because children can create their own at-home libraries. And then you also met Khalil there. So Khalil's our director of operations. Khalil is doing the hard work with the numbers and the accounting and the day-to-day work. So when we first started out, we knew that we were a gathering space. Again, our founder, her name is Dr. Nkechi Elamine. She was doing her research and got her doctorate in sociology, studying Black race and Black place in Appalachia. So through her research, she uncovered the neighborhood that is the bottom. And we knew we wanted to provide space. She knew, as a researcher, she couldn't do much to give back what was taken through urban renewal, but she knew that she could do something for the right now. And she could do something that would not let the history of what had happened just wash away with all the homes that were unfortunately torn down. So again, when we did start, we were kind of a catch-all community center. Any idea that anyone had, we were like, yes, let's do it. And you know, that was great for us getting started, but as time went on, that was not sustainable for a two-person staff. And it also kind of took our focus all over the place. We didn't feel as balanced or as grounded. So as the years went on, we found that truly it was art and literature that were at the heartbeat of our work. So now all of our our work that we do is going to come back to art or literature, and to us inside that space, both art and literature are ways that we can reach liberation through community lenses and ways that we can grapple with some harder issues at a societal level. So getting into our team here, there's Nkechi at the top. Nkechi is now based in Atlanta, Georgia. She is currently an assistant professor in the Department of Sociology and Anthropology at Agnes Scott College. And her research, again, explores the link between race and place, focused in racial practices that shape those places. Moving down to myself, I've also been with the Bottom since 2020, so one of the founding members. My background is in public relations and music business. I call myself a Renaissance woman. I love all things creative. I'm usually spinning vinyl, so I'm a vinyl DJ. I love all things soul. I hosted a radio show called Soul Power on WUTK 90.3 The Rock. Did that for 7 years and loved it. I'm also a ceramicist and a photographer. And for me, my work at the Bottom is to really make sure that we have access to dynamic and cultural programming. Again, I mentioned Anastasia. So Anastasia is an avid reader. I don't know how she reads so many books, but I'm so glad that she does, because she really has that foundation in literature and can recommend. Even if you don't know what you're looking for, you can come into that space and someone will be able to guide you to the right title for you. She is also our podcast host. So if you're into podcasts, the Bottom does have a podcast. It's called At the Bottom, a podcast. I think we have about 12 or so episodes. Those come out once or twice every 2 months. So at the end here, I'll have our information. You can keep up with that podcast there. Anastasia also leads our author talks, our book clubs, and our writing workshops. Then I mentioned we also have Khalil, who's our director of operations. She has her bachelor's of science in biology with a concentration in environmental sustainability. So she is like our local plant queen. She's in charge of our garden and our outside landscaping, and she also does our candle making workshops. And then moving ahead, we have Dash Lee. He's our sound engineer and facilities manager. Honestly, he is our funkle, our resident fun uncle. Anything that goes wrong in the space, even if our cars are breaking down, we know that we have Dash there. We can count on him to come and rescue us in our moments of need. If you do find yourself in our space, you can see a lot of his work. So he has really helped us build the Bottom. So he's built our storage sheds outside. He has built our bar areas. He's built our workshop table. So he really has helped us build what the Bottom is. We then have Victoria Thatcher Milton. She's one of our bookstore associates. She moved to Knoxville about a year ago, and she is so passionate about books and community spaces, and she definitely has a vision for literature and how we can continue to bring that literature to our futures. We then have our communications coordinator, who I work very closely with. That is Notori Mason. I first met Notori through our ceramics program. So Notori came as a student in our program. So we offer it used to be a 9-month program where we did a free ceramics course. So if folks signed up and they stayed with us for those 9 months, they would receive the equivalent of an MFA credit in hand building. And so again, that's another community initiative where there was a ceramicist. Her name is Maggie Connolly. She actually has her doctorate. I didn't know you can get a doctorate in clay, but she is a clay doctor. And she first came to us in 2020. She volunteered her time to teach ceramics to the Sew It Sell It youth. And truly the students weren't as engaged. I don't know why they didn't have that connection between the clay, but Maggie just kept coming back and saying, I know the kids didn't like it, but if anyone wants this knowledge, I would love to come back. So we've been working with Maggie for 5 or 6 years now, and she brings her knowledge of clay. She's one of the folks who help run Mighty Mud. So again, having that connection and having her want to bring her patience and her leadership to our space has been wonderful. And so Notori came through that program and just stuck around, and we found a way to keep them working with us, and hope that as they continue to find out what they want their life to be, that the Bottom can help them get there. All right, and so our mission is very simple. It comes down to community, culture, and creativity. Again, we are rooted in place justice. So everything that we're going to do is going to be about building community, celebrating culture, and engaging creativity. And again, we really do strive to create a sense of belonging, togetherness, and safety. Our center and who we center is Black communities. However, that's an extension to any and everyone. None of our programs, none of our workshops, and our space is not exclusionary. We just ask that folks can get down with who we center, and by way of that, you're always welcomed in our space as well. And welcome to our programming. And Black history is American history, and I don't know that a lot of folks can really get down with that, but we get down with that in our space and invite you to do the same. And so again, I mentioned as we've matured as an organization, we did find that both art and literature are how we reach liberation within our space. And I'll talk a little bit more about how those two arms operate. So when it comes to literature, a lot of that work happens through the bookshop at the bottom. So I kind of will go through what the bookstore provides. So the first is providing Black affirming literature. As stated in the video, all of our titles are going to feature Black authors, or they're going to feature Black stories, Black characters. I mentioned our Lit Kids program. That is where, depending on funding, we can have children who are able to sign up for the full year, and they can come, they receive a punch card, and they can come and pick out their own book to take home with them once a month. We have a Book It subscription program, so if you want to learn more about Black literature, Black stories, you can sign up. It's about $20 a month, and we will either ship you a book, or you can come and pick up your book in the space. There are a couple of different categories. So we have an adult category, a young adult category. There is a baby book, and then a teen or tweens category there. We also have a book club. We have a couple of book clubs. One of them is called the Banned Book Club. So this is, again, another passion project from Anastasia. Banned books is a growing issue with all the things that are going on politically. Having access denied to a lot of stories that will help expand minds is a growing issue. So through that book club, we read banned books, so books that are being pulled off of shelves of schools and libraries for no other, reason besides how liberating and radical these books are. So that's a way that we kind of combat that, is still having access to those books and providing a space to talk about the books and have a discourse there. We do author talks and book discussions. Those happen once, probably every 2 or so months. We also do something called The Bottom Line. So this was a grant-funded project and another extension of Nkeshi's research, where we invited authors, writers, scholars, thinkers, photographers, graphic designers to submit into our publication. So we had a printed publication called Bottom Line. We were hoping to keep that going, but unfortunately the grant funding was just for that one edition. But now we're looking through ways to have a digital version of Bottom Line, so to have a recurring publication where people can read about what's going on at our regional level, but also across the Appalachian, across the South. And then we have, again, I mentioned at the bottom, a podcast where you can listen to some of the authors who come to our space, some of the artists, or just some of the topics and themes that we are exploring throughout the months at the bottom. And then now we'll go through a couple of images. So the first picture on the left is from something called Sip and Read. So this is one of our most popular book clubs. We meet at the Peter Kern Library downtown. That's a community partnership with them. You can buy a ticket, bring your book. There's a social time, and there's a quiet time. So you can bring your own book to read, and then we'll have some type of game and snacks to build the community around readership. There is Anastasia in the middle with our banned book stack. Again, that's her passion project. And then on the far right there, that is an author talk. So if you have been, by show of hands, how many of you have been to our space? Has anyone been to the bottom? Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Our space is very small but mighty, and you will see it change depending on the event. So in that far right picture, we're having our author talk set up. And then here are some programming initiatives. So at the top there, Anastasia had traveled to the Winter Institute. So that's like a really big conference with booksellers. And she was asked to present on a panel discussion with booksellers across the U.S. And so that was, again, a very prideful moment, a very proud moment. Below that picture, we have Santa visiting the space. We love when he comes and he does a story time with the kids, and they always love that. And then the picture on the right is someone shopping for titles in our bookstore. And then this first image, we have Kennedy Ryan, another author who Anastasia was very happy to meet and to work with. Then we have on the right there at the top, that is a book club meetup at Ebony and Ivory Brewing. They are in North Knoxville. And then on the bottom right there, that is recording of a podcast. So that has Bria Baker and Shanita, who is a faculty member at UT now. And that's a little bit of our podcast studio there. Then we have our Lit Kids programming on the left there, and they are they just had story time with an author from Malaysia's Magical Twist, so they were learning about how to twist their hair and how to care for their hair and have pride in their hair. In the middle picture there, that's another moment from Lit Kids, and that's another workshop where they were learning to be proudful of their shoes and their culture and their colorful and curiosities. And then the far right picture there is author Jerry Butler, I believe. No, Jerry Craft. That's Jerry Craft, who came and spent his time with our students. He is the author of a couple of graphic novels, and so he came and led a workshop on how to draw your own cartoon, and he even left us with a couple of pictures that we still have hanging up in our space. And then now we'll move on to how we incorporate art into our space. So we touched on Sew It, Sell It. That was a program that really gave birth to what the bottom is. So as Nkeshi was finishing up her research, she had submitted her dissertation. She was wondering, what else can I give to the community? Like, how else can I be of service to Knoxville, and especially to the youth in Knoxville? So she learned how to sew from her grandmother, and she was like, well, one thing I know how to do is to sew. So she took some of her money and brought a couple of sewing machines and just set up shop and just offered for that summer of 2019, if anyone had a youth who wanted to learn how to sew, she would spend her time and teach them. And so from there, I think the news caught wind of that program, and there was a special that aired, and from there, people really were reaching out and saying, oh, we love this program, how can we support you? Or we have funding for you, but you have to be a nonprofit. So that's kind of where wanting to become a formalized organization came. And now we will be in our 7th year of that program. Since I've worked at the bottom, I've worked with the youth, and it is amazing to see in just 4 weeks, they will come in, some of them having no prior experience with sewing machines. They leave feeling comfortable working with the sewing machine, feeling comfortable knowing how to hand sew. They create their own product, and they have business principles, so they learn how to market themselves, and they actually will pitch their products, and then they will set up their own market display at the end of the summer. So I do love that program. We then have AIM Meetup. So AIM stands for Arts and Movement. That's a monthly touch point where we explore different types of development in terms of art. So we might teach crocheting, or we might do a candle making workshop, or needle felting, any type of tactile art and creativity. We have that touch point there. Or we might do professional development, maybe taxes for creatives, or goal settings for creatives, or branding and social media for creatives. We also do arts exhibitions. So every 2 months, we have a new exhibition primarily featuring marginalized voices or BIPOC artists in Knoxville or from the South or Appalachia regions. Then we do have the Ceramics at the Bottom program, which I mentioned. That is our kind of our year-long touch point where we offer a free ceramics course. This is our last year of funding for that, so that might change in the future, but we're still very determined to make sure that we have that offering. We have about 8 spots that we can fill, and there's probably about 35 35 folks that sign up for that every year. So we see the need for it, and we're looking for ways to keep that going. And then an offshoot of ceramics at the bottom of the program is the Ceramic Soul Collective. So once we offered this program, we realized that the people who were coming for this program still wanted to make, but they didn't have the time or the resources or the space to continue that. So we were trying to think through, okay, how do we still extend this offering to make sure that those who are really loving ceramics and loving clay but cannot afford a studio or cannot afford the resources, that they can still make, so that we offer our access to space and we share resources with those students. And now, this is our first year in this iteration, but graduates from the program now become teachers. So the students who come through the program now teach the new students. So it's a full circle moment, and we've all talked about how beautiful and special it is to have that type of community in ceramics. We then do something called the sewing circle. So along with Sew It, Sell It, we're often hearing adults say, well, what about me? Can I attend Sew It, Sell It? And we're like, no, it's just for, ages 12 to 17. But we've kind of worked with our Sew It, Sell It instructor, Sarah Carmen, who's been a seamstress for many years, and who brings her passion, her dedication to the program. But Sarah has worked with us to offer a Sew It, Sell It for adults. So that's called the Sewing Circle. We do that in the fall time. It's a 1-month program where adults will gather in our space for about 3 hours on Sunday evenings. And again, they'll learn how to find confidence working with the sewing machine. We also touch on quilt making. So the emphasis there is how quilt making is a cornerstone of African American heritage and storytelling, but also how it's a community-oriented art form. So students in that program will leave with their own quilt block, and they have their own exhibition time at the end of that program. And then the last thing that we do with our arts programming is the tiny bookshop concerts. So I mentioned in the documentary piece that before I worked at the bottom, I worked in music booking. I actually found my way to the bottom because when the pandemic happened, there was no more touring, there was no more live entertainment, and so that kind of shifted what my career looked like, but it was a beautiful shift, and I found my way to community work after that. And so I love music, I love live music, and I also think there's a beauty and a specialness in more intimate concerts or more intimate gatherings where sound is being shared. And so we will turn our tiny, tiny bookstore into a concert venue, and I love that program. We'll actually have our next concert in March with a band called Concurrence, and they're out of Nashville. And so here we'll just look at some more images. On the far left is one of our students from our ceramics program. In the middle there we have Chase Williamson. She was exhibiting her work called Liquid Blackness, and she is a current MFA grad student at UT. Her work is amazing. She's getting ready to graduate, and so I'm very excited to see her show. And then on the right there is Corey Hodge, and he is leading our drumming workshop. So that's one of our AIM meetups, is the West African drumming. On the far left here, this to me is another moment of just how community continues to build. So this is an artist named Issa who was traveling from New York to Knoxville to perform at Big Ears. And so community work is a big part of Issa's practice as a musician. And so she actually reached out to us and said, hey, I'm coming. I would love to give my time to community. Would you want me to come and lead a workshop? And I was like, sure. And I tried to pay her. She would not even take, she really just wanted to offer her time and her services. So again, we did a workshop called Voice Body, where she helped participants work through their voice to be connected with body. So that was another beautiful moment there. And then on the right is another community partnership through our arts programming, where we are at the UT Downtown Gallery. And we're doing a quilt making workshop. So again, we try to, as much as we can, have programming in our space, but we also do love the opportunities to actually go out into other spots in Knoxville to bring our work there as well. We then have our downstairs basement studio on the left. So this is Jasmine Curtis, one of our longtime students who is now teaching. She's teaching private classes on wheel throwing, and even to see how her even career has changed. Now she made the decision to quit her job, and she's pursuing artistry full time. So we really do support her and love to see her journey through arts. And then on the right there, we have a student pitching at Sew It, Sell It Pitch Day. So that is probably our longest running student. I think she's been with the program since we started in 2019, and she keeps returning, and now she also returns in a leadership capacity, so she helps the other students work through their transition into learning how to sew and learning how to sell their products. And then finally is another image from our concerts. This is an artist named Hazi, who was from East Tennessee. He recently moved to Nashville, but again, that was another beautiful moment to just gather and hear his stories through sound. And then now I'll just show you some historical context of how Nkeshi's research of preserving the bottom of the neighborhood is interacting with our space. So Nkeshi had a project called Streets and Feet, and it is where, and this is an image from the bottom of the neighborhood. If you know where Hall of Fame Drive is now, that was where the bottom was. You can go to the next slide. So Streets and Feet was the culmination of Nkeshi's research. So again, she had years worth of oral histories, of archival materials, archival images, and so she kind of took all of it and condensed it and produced these panels. So if you do come to our space, if you go to our back parking lot, we have this on permanent display. So there's a permanent exhibition where you can read each of these panels. So basically there's probably 20 of them. Each of them coordinate with a different street or an area of the bottom of the neighborhood, and you can read more about the stories from there. You can see images from what was there, and then here we actually have some elders. So in 2021 or 2022, we were able to work with the city to get a trolley, and so we piled all of those signs, elders from the bottom. So these were individuals who were children at the time, and they can remember living in a place that was once torn down. So it was very special and beautiful to have them join us to share their stories with others as we drove around what was the bottom, and we got out at each street and had a time to remember and to honor the people who lived there and to say their names. And so from that research, we also collaborated with the UT Downtown Gallery and Good Black Art to create a gallery, an exhibition around this research. So Nkeshi worked with two artists, Ahmad George and Erin Leanne Mitchell, to draw from the oral histories of the bottom and to interpret that into art pieces. So this is, the next one will be an image from the Downtown Gallery. It was a beautiful, beautiful gallery, and to see how artists and the power of and the beauty of art, to see how artists could translate what was written and what was oral into something that took a new life of its own was a very beautiful process. And you can go one more, and that the image on the left was from Ahmad, and she's working in oil painting and textile. So she needle felted, or she created, that full image. And then on the right there, that is from Erin Leanne Mitchell, who does a lot of work in quilting. So that is actually a map of First Creek. So where the zippers are with the where the blue zippers are, those are actually the water lines there. And I loved how she interpreted that through quilt making. And then now we'll move on to some of our impact from last year. So last year we celebrated our 5th year anniversary. Again, time flies, I guess, when you're having fun. So here's just some numbers. We had 98 events. When I started with the bottom, we had 12. So to see how that continues to grow along with our team has been beautiful. And then we engaged 256 youth through our programming, and we invited 134 artists and creatives to either instruct, perform, or exhibit in our space. I'm going to move through quickly some of these impact statements. So this is just from a Lit Kids parent, and they were saying that along with bringing their child to these events, they actually learn something when they come, and they actually enjoy having it. And they also refer back to their books, and they see this as high quality entertainment. And it's important to expose their son to diverse books and to teach valuable lessons about equity and justice and the fight to achieve them even at a young age. And we can move on to the next. So this is from a book club participant who attended Danielle Evans, the Office of Historical Corrections event, and she was saying that she walked away with a deeper appreciation for the social commentary and short stories, as well as connections to new people and community. There are always poignant reads across broad genres, and through the banned book club, we're able to take collective action to advocate for unrestricted access to this life-changing literature. And then we'll move on to Zakiya McGee. So I showed her image in a couple of slides before, but again, Zakiya is our longest returning student, and their passion for sewing grows every year. Last year, she wanted to work on building her own business website and to also learn how to keep running her own micro business. She returned to make pants and patchwork and to start selling her own hoodies. She also wants to do a sewing club at her school and is talking with her principal, and she wants to inspire other students to explore the creativity in sewing. And then again, last year, she joined us as a junior counselor, so she's actually now helping to teach and helping the students learn and find comfort in sewing. And then our final impact statement comes from Margot Miller, and Margot was a longtime director of Appalachian Community Fund. So even to work with Margot through our organization as someone who took workshops, and I was part of a cohort with Appalachian Community Fund. That's how I got my feet in the game of community work. It's really beautiful to see that intergenerational component. But Margot is the recipient of our Aramont Wingate Fellowship, so we're able to work with the Aramont School of Arts and Crafts to provide a free scholarship where people from our community, people from East Knoxville and surrounding areas can go and attend a workshop at Aramont for free. And so Margot was saying that the workshop gave her so many ideas. She left with a renewed excitement, and now she wants to take that connection and to work on bringing a workshop to the bottom. So her workshop was on indigo dyeing. You'll see a piece that Margot created in the back there from the techniques that she learned, and she wants to do an indigo workshop with us, and she's already ready to host that in a community lens. And then now, this just kind of shows our growth, again, of the work that we've done and the changes in the landscape of funding, especially for nonprofits. When I started, everyone on the staff was a volunteer, and so most of our work now is to try to raise funds to pay our staff, to keep our staff there, to bring new staff on. We are seeing that as things are changing at a federal level, so are changes happening with desires to give in capacities for cultural organizations. So yeah, you'll see that our income and our income for grants is slowly dwindling down. But again, our work continues, and we're still fighting to figure out how to continue bringing our work to East Knoxville. So sustaining our space. So we, the bottom is in a restored home. So the home is about 100 years old, and since we've been there, I guess anyone who owns a home, that's just part of it. There's always something to to do or to fix, and so we're grateful to have people like Dash who can come and help us address issues as they happen. But we have had some pretty large and substantial work that needs to be done. So the first thing was kind of a large plumbing issue. A couple of years back, our AC has been out, but we've gotten that fixed. And then last year, the craziest thing, we had a squirrel infestation. And you know, who would have thought? Who would have thought squirrels could really damage wiring and eat away insulation? So that has been our largest undertaking last year. And so we were able to get our roof replaced. So this slide was from the end of last year, but we were actually able to fix our roof. But we had to get the squirrel issue fixed first. And so now it's like all of these things, but the building still stands and we're still there. And then we'll keep moving forward here. And so this is just a breakdown of our arts programming. So again, we're realizing that grant funding might not be the way to sustain us in the future. So we do have ways to sponsor programs. And here are kind of our yearly totals for some of our programs and kind of what it takes to keep these things happening at the bottom. And most of, all of these tiers will go into the supplies, the instructors, the time, the administration, the expenses like the utilities, materials, equipment that it takes to bring these programs to our space. And then the next slide will also have the same for the bookstore programming. So to make our book clubs happen, our off-sites events, software, programming, we kind of have those tiers there as well for sponsorships. And then our community programming would be our podcast studio. So when we started at the bottom, we had a couple of grants that funded a cohort where people could come and learn how to produce their own podcasts and how to get their own stories recorded. Since then, that funding has kind of also not returned. So we are, we still have the podcast studio. So as funding comes, we are very happy to offer that offering to our community. And then this slide just kind of talks about where we are now and some of the risk in just where we are as a society now. We are seeing a decline in support for arts within the shifting political climate, the affordability crisis, decline in grant funding, anti-Black sentiments, DEI backlash, which has been a big one. We did have some programs that we had to change the name of because they had Black in them. And so just seeing the changes in real time and seeing how, what's happening at a federal level continues to trickle down to our community surprises us. But again, the support of community also surprises us, and the support of folks who want to see our work continue is really what pushes us to keep figuring out how to make our work possible. And then as we look at ways to support, so again, we have a pledge program. You can make a recurring gift to our organization. You can also do a multi-year commitment. You can sponsor a program. If you know of grants or of funding opportunities, or maybe you work at an organization that has a foundation or has touch points, please feel free to email us, let us know. Honestly, a lot of our opportunities come from someone just sharing something via email saying, hey, I thought of you. You might want to apply for this. So that is a very valuable thing to share. Business-to-business book sales. So this is a big one. If you are part of a book club or part of an organization that orders books, we do have a custom order, a way to do custom orders, and those sales really help us in the long run. We have vending opportunities. So if there's an opportunity to vend where we can come and pop up and sell our books or sell some of our art, again, that does go back to our organization. And then space rentals. So if you ever want to come rent the bottom to have a meeting or a board meeting or an event, a concert, feel free to let us know. And then finally, keep up with us. We would love to hear from you all. Like the next slide will have our website, our phone, our email. If you want to learn about our events, you can go to our website and scroll to the event page. Also, if you're on our website, you can scroll to the bottom and sign up for our newsletter. So we send out our newsletter about 2 times a month, and that will have all of our events, what we're doing, and also what's happening around town. And with that is all. Thank you guys for sticking with me and for learning more about our work, and I hope that you are able to visit us. We're in East Knoxville on Magnolia Avenue. And did anyone have any questions or any? Absolutely.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
If you do have questions, I can, I do see some. I'll bring down, just a second, I'll bring you the microphone.
I was wondering if the bottom did any classes that weren't free, were like, you know, to raise money and...
Yeah, so we have in the past couple of years implemented a pay what you can. So now all of our classes will have a fee, though there's an option to have a free class. So this month our workshop is terrarium building. It is filled up. In April we'll have a poetry workshop. But if you would like to bring a workshop to our space or to work with us to provide that, again, feel free to email us. But I know April will be poetry, and then May I think we'll do like a glass making workshop, like a sun catcher making workshop. Yeah.
No, I was looking to participate.
Yeah. So this March is filled up, but next month is poetry. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I was wondering, does the bottom have a functional relationship with the Seed organization and Battlefield Farm?
So Khalil, that's our director of operations, is working with Mr. Chris Battle, and he is working on the grocery store. And so we're in conversation about what that could look like. Could we bring books? If they're able to bring that grocery store to life, could we bring books there? And with Seed, when they have their youth program or their career readiness program, they will bring their students to our space, and we work with them in that capacity.
That's good. I was also wondering if, I know your focus is on literature and art, but there's been a long history of black people's relationship with nature and the outdoors, and in recent years I've been reading about more and more black people have been trying to get out into nature and, you know, reclaim the right to go hiking and backpacking and that sort of thing. Does any of the bottom activities deal with that issue at all?
Yes, so we did have a program called Black Outside, and so that was a youth program, again, grant funded, where we took youth over a 1-month period, and every weekend we took them to either Tremont, we went to Tremont Institute, we did a biking program with 2 bikes, we did a water program with like UT, but that was a youth-centric program. Again, it was beautiful, but we didn't get the grant funding for it again. We did apply. The city has a grant for youth violence prevention. That happens in in April. So we're, fingers crossed, we'll hear back about that, but we're doing a 1-day event kind of like that. It's called Black Outside, where we're bringing that to youth. And then in my work, I really enjoy what you're saying too. I'm researching the same things. I'm actually working through an exhibition. It's called Nurturing Nature, and a friend and I are collaborating. So I'm taking photos of black women in the Appalachian Mountains, and we're exploring how can we build these centers of safety, and how can we regard our bodies as just as sacred as the animals that we care for in the wildlife. So we're kind of grappling through that issue through art right now too. But I think, what you're saying is it's important, and we should all be outside. We should all feel safe outside, and we should all be welcomed in the mountains.
Hi, I'm clearing out my craft room.
Yeah.
Would you all be interested in, I have a bunch of stamps for like making cards, and a gadget for making glitter permanent and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Would you guys?
If you could email us, and I think I might have cards. If not, I will get our email to, yes, if you just email us, let us know what you have. I can talk with our storage. Storage is an issue for us, so we're kind of, yeah.
And I can take pictures?
Yes, that's perfect. And if anything that we cannot accept, we work closely with the South Knoxville Community Center.
Yes.
And they have, yes. Oh, we love them, yes, yeah.
And I'm sure they can have free donated sewing machines?
Yes, we took some there, yeah. Yeah, we love them.
I will take pictures.
Thank you.
I was wondering whether the closing of McKay's is going to benefit your book program.
That's a good question. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. That's a good question, yeah. As a vinyl DJ, I did like, I know they're going through a lot of things with the with their strike and things, but I did used to love going to McKay's to look at, they have a great vinyl collection.
So actually I have a couple of comments. I have recently discovered a way, I'm sure this is not a very big form of income for the bottom, but a tiny way that some of us can contribute. I was looking for ways to avoid Amazon, and sometimes, you know, I'm not going to get in the car and drive downtown to buy a book, but bookshop.org, yeah, allows you to select a local bookstore, and then a tiny bit of what you purchase
goes back.
And they don't have audiobooks, but they do have ebooks and regularly.
Absolutely. So if you do go to bookshop.org, you can find us there. We're at the bottom, so it's bookshop.org. Again, it's kind of in retrospect to Amazon. So if you're looking for a book, instead of going to Amazon to buy it, you can go to bookshop.org. You can select the bottom, and a portion of those proceeds will come back to us. And then bookshop.org does not have the audiobooks. However, we have a profile with Libro FM, so Libro FM, and you can go to Libro FM, and you can also sign up for a profile, select the bottom as your organization, and a portion of those proceeds will also come back to us. Yeah, thank you, yeah.
and also, this, I was just really excited about this. A month or so ago, I was at the Lilienthal Gallery downtown, and which just has art from everywhere. And the piece that I was the most taken with, and you will know the woman's name, I have now forgotten it, but
Lakeisha?
Yeah.
Lakeisha Lee? Yeah.
She was the former art director at the bottom, and it was just this amazing piece of art.
Yes, Lakeisha was getting her graduate degree in art at UT, and we work with her to do our exhibitions. Yeah, and I think she's teaching at Belmont. She's in Nashville now, yeah.
We're gonna have to wrap up now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to say, I think that was astonishing, everything that you do for the community. It's just, I'm amazed. I just kind of thought you were a small bookshop and had a sewing program, but wow, lots of stuff. So again, thank you so much, Ty. I'm going to move on. As I mentioned earlier, we did away with our collection plate a few years ago, but there are still ways in which you can make a donation, either to Westside for the financial support of our staff, our building and grounds, and everything that keeps us going as an institution. So there's a box at the back of the room on the table, and you can put a cash or check in that. There's also a QR code on the front if you prefer to donate that way. Next to that box, there's another box, and that is for our our Justice and Generosity partner. And we focus on one every quarter, and we're focusing on the bottom this quarter. Again, we have an ongoing relationship with them, but it's kind of focus on them as one of our partners during this quarter. So, and donations can be made in the same way: cash, check, QR code. You can go to our website. It's in our, I think there's even one in our newsletter. So, as we close today, if you would like to stand, feel free to stand. If you choose not to, that's okay too. You can hold hands if you like. If not, you can hold hands with yourself, as I want to do. So I've chosen these closing words, which many of us are familiar with. It come from Dorothy Day, and it's called commitment. People say, "What is the sense of our small effort?" They cannot see that we must lay one brick at a time, one step at a time. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Each one of our thoughts, words, and deeds is like that. No one has a right to sit down and feel hopeless. There is too much work to do. Thank you. Go with peace into the week.